everyone, it's Bubs. If you have clicked this video, there is a chance that you may be a little or very sleep deprived. High five! I have been there too. Today I'll be sharing a video on how I got my two babies asleep through the night. One baby gentle trained from birth, and the second baby at a later stage at 8 months time. Before I begin, please bear in mind that this is just a video of a mummy to another mummy, daddy, or parent to be. So please understand that what works for me may or may not work for you because every child is different. When you become a parent, you really cherish sleep and you realize just how much you took time for granted. Before I begin, I'm just going to give you guys a backstory of my babies. My son is 3 now, but it wasn't until he was about 8 months before he got to really sleep through the night. And versus Ayla, my daughter, who's currently 5 months, she slept through the night at 7 weeks. So I'm gonna start with Ayla and how we got her to sleep through the night. Bear in mind, sleeping through the night is different for everyone. Yeah! Some define 8 hours as sleeping through the night. Some is less, 5 hours. Ayla sleeps 11 hours at a go. She has even gone up to like 13 hours. With Ayla, it could be because she's our second baby. So therefore, because we've done it all before, we are more calm. And I really feel like us being calm has bounced onto her. In France, I don't know if this is true, but apparently a lot of the children there are sleeping through the night by 2 months old. And the reason is they do a technique called le pause, and it just means that whenever their baby cries, the parent just stands by for a few minutes. Especially as newborns, they go through many sleep cycles. So by sort of just standing by for a few minutes, it gives them a chance to learn to self-soothe. So this is pretty much what we did without even realizing this method. We never let it get to a point where she gets hysterical because we understand that the first few months are so crucial for the trust and bond. But we just kind of let her whimper a little bit. She's gonna be joining us for now. For Isaac, my son, back then, whenever he just whimpered a little bit, I would run towards him. There's nothing wrong with attending your child's need, but mummies and daddies, what's an extra 5 minutes? I truly believe that this did so much for us. Especially in this case, this is known as a gentle self-soothe. Second thing that's so important is to get blackout curtains. Something that we didn't do for Isaac, and I really question why. Like, we've seen the differences of her sleeping in a nice dark room versus a room that's a little too bright. She just does not nap as well. She'll end up waking up, becoming distracted. Third thing that I did is I no longer nurse my baby to sleep. Of course, when she was a newborn, it was just very natural for her to fall asleep. My son Isaac was, we used to do all of those things where we either nursed him to sleep or cradled him to sleep, and then he'll wake up middle of the night screaming. And of course you would, because can you imagine waking up and just thinking, hey, where am I? I'm in a totally different place. Where's my boob, or where's my milk? I was in mummy's arms just there, and suddenly I'm in this whole foreign place. Of course she'll be freaked out, and that's why babies cry. We just put her down while she's drowsy. We'll just sort of look around because we can see her in the baby monitor. She's just looking around, rubbing her eyes until she falls asleep. On a bad day, she'll whimper a little bit, but she'll always fall asleep on her own. Make sure it's nice and dim. I would chill with her for about 5-10 minutes just so she gets comfortable in her environment. Sing to your baby, read to your baby, just relax. It's very important you say the same words as well. So in my case, I would say Ayla, Van Gaga Jila, which translates to Ayla, it's time for bed. And then I'll kiss her in the forehead, and then I'll very calmly leave the room. All you need to do is to make sure that they're not hungry, make sure their diaper is changed, the temperature of the room is right, and then just calmly leave her side. Very important to be consistent. Her nighttime routine and her nap routine is pretty similar. We say the same words. On days where she's really not feeling great, for example, and when she's going through regression or whatsoever, I will just, sit next to her until she falls asleep, or sometimes even rock her to sleep. That is okay, as long as you don't use that as a long-term solution. Another thing that's very important on getting your baby to sleep well is to know the right time to put them to sleep. So you can actually find charts on Google. For example, Ayla is 5 months old, and her awake window is a maximum of 2 hours. Anytime after is too much, and she'll become overtired, and it'll be difficult to put her to sleep. And you can tell when a baby is tired because their eyes will look a little red, they'll rub it, and you could be talking to your baby, but they'll be staring past you, so you can usually tell. So my daughter was very easy because it was very smooth transition from birth. Now let's talk about a slightly older baby. In my case, for my son Isaac. My son Isaac, he just had trouble sleeping, and it was not uncommon for him to wake up 2-3 times during the night. I don't believe there's a right or wrong. I mean, it's a very personal decision. I believe every parent knows what's best for their child. In our case, Isaac was just struggling to sleep, and at 8 months he was sleep deprived and I was sleep deprived. And so I decided to read a book, and it's called Sleep Easy Solutions, and it just worked really well for me. With my son, he just had the very classic textbook example of a baby who was unable to ease himself. And bear in mind, if you want to sleep train your child, there are some things to remember. 1, they have to be at least 4 months, and 2, they have to be a certain weight. It's very similar to what I did for Ayla, but of course with an 8-month-old, it's going to be more of a struggle. Again, just making sure your child is fed, nappy changed, temperature is right. And the only difference is very likely your child is going to be upset. And Isaac cried. Every fiber of my body was screaming at me to rescue him and to comfort him. Yet I know that I did the very same thing for the past 8 months. And yet still, I could see that he was sleep deprived, he was moody, and it was reflecting on me and the whole family. Give yourself a window first before you go into the room. Now, they recommend 5, maybe for some it's too much and they'll go for 3. I gave myself 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes, I calmly walk into the room, I smile, I don't stay more than 30 seconds, and I don't lift them up or anything. And I just calmly say, Isaac, it's okay to go to bed. Mommy and Daddy will see you in the morning. Just be calm. And again, leaving the room. And I believe for the first night, it took about 20 minutes. According to the book, most babies will usually be asleep in an hour. That very first night, he actually went down for, I think, like 8 hours, which was great. It was so surprising how quick it worked, because within 5 days, he was completely sleep trained. And ever since then, he's been sleeping 11 hours a night minimum. The thing about this technique is you just have to really stick to a routine and be consistent, because if you're all over the place, it's going to confuse your baby. I understand how it feels to be heartbroken to hear your child cry. But here I am just speaking out of my experience that, hey, my child is fine. There's nothing wrong with him mentally. He completely trusts me. In general, he just seems so much more confident. So on the flip side, I know mommies who just continue to nurse their babies to sleep and rock them. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just do whatever you feel is right for your child. But if you've gotten to a stage where you are really feeling delirious and you're seeing it affect your child, then this may be something that you can consider. Now Isaac is 3 years old and he knows his routine. It's to wash his face, brush his teeth, read a storybook, and he knows his bedtime. And now that he's 3 years old, he's become a little bit fearful of the darkness, so we put in a little nightlight. Another thing that we did back then with Isaac was we had this little teddy, and it played music, and we would put it on before he sleeps, and basically every time when he's about to go to bed, we'll turn it on. Sure enough, through time, when he hears that song, he knows it's time to go to bed. It was quite helpful in the sense that whenever we traveled to a different location, that toy there made him feel it just made him feel more familiar and not as foreign to wherever he was, and helped him to sleep. But overall, through time, we just ended up removing that toy. So that's pretty much how I got both my babies to sleep through the night. Bear in mind, babies do go through sleep regressions, they go through development milestones and growth spurts and teething. It's great to have a routine, but remember, sometimes it will go out of whack and it's okay. Go with the flow. You know your child. You know what your child needs in that moment. So if they need to be comforted and hugged, go ahead and do that. Ayla is currently teething furiously and covering from a cold. So for the past week, she actually didn't sleep very well. And it wasn't until we came back home from London that things are going quite normal. Also, the thing about sleep is try not to get too caught up with the amount of hours they get. As long as they look healthy and happy, then that's all that matters. I don't like people saying that, oh, your baby's a good baby because they sleep well. All babies are good. If they could, of course babies want to sleep for a longer period of time. You just gotta be patient and just wait till whenever they're ready. Your baby isn't going to be a baby for long. It's crazy how fast a baby grows in its first year. So during those really difficult nights where I was feeling delirious, instead I just cherished that moment. of being able to hold my baby to sleep, because they're just gonna grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and then they'll eventually sleep by themselves. They'll eventually let go of my hand where they won't need me as much. As trying as some days maybe cherish it, one day you're gonna look back and wish to relive that night where you were delirious of your baby. Good luck to all the amazing parents out there. Keep up the amazing work, and I shall see you soon.